Welcome to the home office of my first guest, Kathleen Green, inner healer provider and a Reiki master. Thanks for having me here today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
So let's jump right on into this.
I work for a reconstructive plastic surgeon. New Street Plastic Surgery is the name of the practice. We're in Huntington. And the doctor is Diana Yoon Schwartz. 90% of our patients are breast cancer patients, which for me is, it holds a personal space within my heart. I lost my closest friend to breast cancer, and it's very different from the work. It's very different in one respect, and in another respect, I bring my healing into the office, and I'm grateful that the doctor allows me to do that. 90% breast cancer, 10% cosmetic. So it's, for me, dealing with insurance companies, it's really that opposite side of me, that's that business side that kicks in when I'm there. It gives that part of me that is not in so much that spiritual mode. I'm in the real world at that moment, fighting insurance companies for a patient's surgeries. So I like that. You know, it's fun and it gets me going and is rewarding. Not as rewarding as what I do, but I do have a breast cancer support group that I hold there once a month. And the last Tuesday of the month, we have a Reiki and meditation circle for the patients. The doctor does believe in healing body, mind, and spirit.
Did you have to convince him, or he was from the start once you started there?
It's a woman. No, actually, she wasn't sure what Reiki was. And the funny thing is, she's Asian. And Reiki is from Japan. And I told her what I did. I tried to explain the best I could what Reiki was, a very deep form of relaxation, which creates an environment within the body to heal. It was like I was speaking a foreign language, but she was okay with it. She thought anything that would help the patient relax would be welcome. So from the beginning, I started the Reiki circle there, and it's been accepted beautifully by the patients as well as the doctor. She now allows me to do Reiki on her.
Well, for Reiki, what is it exactly? Is it like getting a massage? Do you lay on a table?
It's not a massage. You're on a table, such as a massage table. But it's energy work. Reiki is divine. It's universal energy. So I call it God energy. Some people call it universal energy. I receive energy, okay, and what I'm doing is placing my hands on a patient and transferring that energy to them. If a patient doesn't want my hands on them, they have a choice whether I place my hands on them or I don't. For most people, it is so relaxing that they end up falling asleep, and it doesn't make a difference. You don't have to be awake. You can sleep through the Reiki. Reiki knows the energy knows where to go. It doesn't go to the symptom. It goes to the cause. So we believe that a disease is a symptom. That oftentimes there is an outside source creating the disease, whether it's emotional, spiritual, or a physical ailment. I mean, we all know being exposed to radiation, free radicals, let's face it, they play a role in our disease. Whether we have an immune system that's compromised, we're not able to fight things off. So what Reiki does, it will create an environment through the person that's receiving Reiki. Their relaxation brings about an ability to have the body function on all levels. Now, with Reiki, we deal with the main chakras, okay? And they are, it's not something you can see. There are 7 main chakras, and that's what we concentrate on, yet we do the full body. And if you could imagine a chakra like the spine, okay, each spine feeds a part of the body. And the chakras more or less follow the same area, you know, the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar. So it follows the same, and each of the chakras feed areas of the body. So if you have a blockage, it's like a garden hose. If it has a crimp in it, the water's not flowing 100%. So if your chakra is not in balance, that part of your body that it's feeding is not getting 100%. The same way, if you have a subluxation in your spine, your body is not getting 100%, and all the nerves that run through there are then compromised. So we work on the chakra. Now, I feel energy with my hands. Okay, so if I were to scan you, and I might feel hot, cold, I could feel waves. It's felt differently by every practitioner, and every client that I have, I might feel it differently. So we work on balancing out the chakras so that it's able to feed the body what it needs on a whole level.
Now, if I'm feeling like tension in my back, is that just stress, or that mean something to you?
Stress, though, will play a part. It doesn't have to be a major disease. It can be stress. And we know what happens when we get stressed. This is what we do. We don't relax. Right. So what part of your body are you tensing up that now you're creating a blockage? When we're relaxed, everything flows. When we're tense, what's going on here? This part of the body is not getting fed. So are you going to end up with a stiff neck, not able to turn your head? So that's why learning how to relax the body is so important. You know, meditation, Reiki, yoga, Tai Chi, whatever it is. We want to get to the source of what the tension is, what the dis-ease is, not disease, the dis-ease, what is causing us to be uneasy.
So when someone comes in, and if they're coming for a Reiki session, do you bring out a table, or you just have them sit in a chair and you're there in the office?
It's a table. Now, sometimes I have to do a chair Reiki. I have a young man who is, he has a form of autism, and he's not comfortable lying down. So I actually, whoever the client is, this is their healing. So if they're not comfortable lying down, they can sit in a chair. It's about what they're comfortable with. This young man, I can't do him lying down. So he'll sit in a chair, I'll stand behind him, and sometimes with children who have autism or Asperger's, they don't want to be touched. And this young man is really awesome because he stepped outside his comfort zone, and he does allow me to put my hands on him. But he calls the shots. When he's done, he's done. And then, you know, he stands up and says, okay, I'm going now. So I never know how long it's going to take.
Is there a typical time that a Reiki usually do?
Yeah, it's about an hour.
Okay.
Sometimes a little longer. Sometimes it's not as long. Now, I have somebody who comes to me on a weekly basis. Their treatment could be very quick because they're really in balance. Somebody else, if I have a cancer patient here, I may spend an hour and a half on them because that's what they need. I try not to look at a clock. I let the body dictate what it needs.
And then when they leave, I mean, is it almost like if I go to a chiropractor, I'll feel less tense, I'll feel
Yes.
I can breathe a little better usually? Is
Yes.
that you could get those
And
signs?
sometimes you don't feel it right away. I mean, I have people that come and, they'll say, okay, I didn't feel anything extraordinary. And I never take offense to that because I know Reiki is working. They'll call me 3 days later and say, I realized I was able to jump up out of bed and I haven't been able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it will work over a period of time. When someone leaves here, they could be very relaxed, go home and sleep like they've never slept before. They can be bouncing off the walls because they've got so much energy in them.
Now, you don't just do Reiki, can you list the different things that you practice?
I do mandala work.
What is that?
Okay, a mandala is, in its very basic form, it's a sacred circle in Sanskrit, okay? And when I have a client who's blocked and is not too sure why their behavior is such or why the same problems keep coming up in their life, it might be different, but it has the same texture.
Mm-hmm.
And we're unable to break through, I might suggest that we sit down and do a mandala. So what I would do with that is I find, we discuss the areas that they're having an issue with, and then we break it down to the most common denominator.
Okay.
And put it in question form. But the question has to be really direct because the subconscious mind needs to recognize it. It can't be open-ended and too broad. And what I do is I put them in a meditative state. And I'll ask a question, and again, this is just very basic.
Mm-hmm.
I will give them 3 crayons, and I give them 3 different shapes to put on the paper. Split second, I ask the question. Now, hypothetically, suppose it was you couldn't stay in a relationship, okay, and you want to know why. So we would break this down, and we come to the idea that you don't feel lovable. So your question would be, why don't I feel love or loved? And once I got you calm and you stared at this circle for a couple of minutes and you're very relaxed, I will pose the question to you. Once I say the question, you would immediately, whatever color and shape came to your head, you would immediately put it on the paper. From that paper, I then assess it, depending on the color you choose, and the shape, and where it's on the paper.
Hmm.
I will then tell you whether it's a mother wound, a father wound, we'll go through where this comes from. And I'll just give you words. I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm going to give you what that shape, color, and placement means. And you're going to start telling me your story because it brings the subconscious mind to the conscious mind.
Mm.
And from there, we work. So that's one modality that I use. I'm a spiritual director, so I will work with them on different issues. I sort of have a gift when I speak to people. I go into the heart. I go right into the wound. I can pretty much assess from what they're saying that there's a wound there. Each one of us were born perfect people. Some of us are actually able to be born with somebody else who is identical to them,
Mm-hmm.
and yet very different. Okay, so our wounds are all, they all come from somewhere, and most of them are learned. Since we all come into the world needing what? Love, touch, and food. That's it. We don't need anything else. And what happens along life's road? And we don't blame anybody. You know, it's not our parents' fault. They came from somewhere else, and so on and so on and so on. So we try to take a look at what didn't work in life for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes it's our families, sometimes it's our country, sometimes it's our religion, sometimes it's the towns we work, you know, live in. We look at what's not working and find a way to recapture what it is that we need or needed and didn't get. And again, always without blame.
Now it seems in the country today, like I feel like we're going through, one reason I wanted to interview you is it seems like we're going through a spiritual revolution. I don't really consider myself very spiritual, but I'm seeing more and more that people are gravitating towards spirituality. I think with everything going on in the world, with all the hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, do you agree? Do you see that you're getting more of a client base? Do you?
Absolutely. And I don't think it's by mistake that it's happening now. I think we have, let's look at the medical world, okay? There was a time they would not even entertain allowing me to walk into a hospital prior to a patient having surgery and put my hands on them.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been privileged enough to go into the OR while somebody's having surgery, and I stand up at the head with the anesthesiologist and send Reiki to the patient while they're having surgery. And it's funny because the usually the surgeons themselves don't have very much of a comment. It's the anesthesiologists that say they come out of anesthesia much easier than they do. So we've gotten the medical world to actually take a look at different modalities and how the two work together. Now, we're able to say that yes, the medical world is beginning to recognize that there is a body, mind, physical experience going on, that if you put all three together, a patient heals much better. When we ignore one, you know, you need good medical treatment. But when you also have somebody who's bringing themselves to a different place, they all can then work together. The country, look at the state the country is in. Have we ever been more dysfunctional? I don't think so. I mean, I've been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever remember my country being this dysfunctional. And, you know, to sit around and just have a, pardon the expression, bitch fest about it is not going to change anything.
Yeah.
So I think people are looking really for alternatives to view our leaders, our country. They're stepping outside the box a little. They're not, you know, we're not being so by the book. Then let's go to our religion. You know, I think we all, what is being spiritual? Spirituality is not necessarily a religion. We have all of our religions, Judaism, you know, Catholicism, Buddhism, whatever it might be. And with good education, we've learned the story. Now, I'm a spiritual person. I was raised a Roman Catholic. I do believe in Jesus. I was taught that. I still go to church because that's the way I was raised. But I have a very separate feeling about organized religion.
Okay.
All right, I look at the Catholic Church and I say, shame on them with some of what has come out. But again, that's not the church as a whole. Those were individuals. Like our country has individuals that are not so on the up and up. They've got their own agenda.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics, and I think even it was the first time in history that a pope actually left on his own, correct?
I think the man-made laws that all of these religions have taken, you know, if we look at the Bible, you know, you've got the Old Testament, you've got the New Testament. I don't know, somewhere in there I'm not reading a lot of the stuff that my religion has taught me because it's man-made. You know, I look at the Vatican and I say, how could any church ever close down in this world? There's so much money there. And yet, things do happen. I do believe that we do need some form of organized religion so that we never get caught up in cults. Our children can't get caught up in cults. They need a good foundation. Now, my spirituality is, life is about love and forgiveness, and it's about helping others. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I do believe that I have a right to be paid for my services that I do. But I also know that everybody has a right to be healed.
And that you're talking also about karma and things along those lines. I mean, I always question, you know, things like karma exists and things along those lines.
Yeah, karma exists and we create our own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's face it. I'm the kind of person, let's say, that it's all about me. It's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me. What am I putting out there? You know, let me not offend anybody right now, but I am going to say, I look at some of our big mediums that we look at, and they're getting people that are coming to them at their rawest moment. Their loved one has died, and they want a connection. They want proof that this person is okay, that there is an afterlife. And they're charging absurd amounts of money. So that means if you only make $20,000 a year, you can't go to this guy to find out about your loved one because you can't afford it.
Yeah, but I mean,
I know you've had a good experience though.
yeah, one thing I was going to mention is I think a couple weeks ago in Newsday, there was an article and it highlighted 4 psychics and mediums from Long Island. I'm not sure if you saw the article.
I didn't. Tell me.
Well, it talked about, I mean, they highlighted John Edwards, Teresa Caputo, Jeffrey Wands, and Kim Russo. Kim Russo is the one I'm not as familiar with.
Me either.
But they talked about Long Island, and even here, we're on Long Island, you know, and how it seems to be a hotbed for mediums and spirituality. I mean, Teresa Caputo, she's got, you know, a very popular talk show. John Edwards, you know, has been around for a long time as well.
Yes.
I think Jeffrey Wands jokingly said they think, you know, maybe something in the water. Do you believe that at all? Like, why? It seems Long Island's a big place for at least the 2 big mediums that I know about.
I'll tell you, I really do believe that Long Island, or even the state of New York, okay? Let's take that. We have so many Reiki practitioners in the state of New York. We also, I think, are, okay, let me say this without insulting anybody. I think we're a more affluent area. I think we are more open to alternative means of
Mm-hmm.
help. You've got schools in the city. Look at, what is it, the Open Center or something like that? Where we're actually being taught. There are people teaching us how to open our intuitive channel.
Mm-hmm.
We all have the ability. It's just, was it nurtured? I mean, John Edwards, from a very young age, he knew.
And they've said for a lot of the mediums, most of them, Teresa Caputo, John Edwards, Jeffrey Wands, they all have books, and usually at least one of their books, or many of them, they're trying to teach you how you can do it yourself.
Right.
So, I mean, I find that interesting. They may tell their story, but in the end, they're trying to help you. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know if necessarily that you'll need to go to them, but I don't know, I just found it very interesting that two of the big ones are right here on Long Island.
I think, well, George Anderson, was he from Long Island also?
I don't know, I'm not
I think he
familiar.
was. You know, whether this is sacred ground, possibly, it just does seem that they're concentrated here. I mean, how many other psychics have we seen on TV? Now, two of them from Long Island have TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Do you believe in on what they do? I mean, you mentioned about some, not maybe these in particular, but money and how they charge very high prices. But do you believe they have gifts and?
I do. I also believe that sometimes their egos get a little in the way.
Well, I think that happens with most people when you have, and it seems like, at least also with Teresa Caputo, just for example, it was all of a sudden, at least from my knowledge, a rise to fame and, that becoming well known.
Right.
And I think when you have that happen to you, like anyone, I would probably be the same way.
Right.
You have all these opportunities that weren't available to you.
Exactly. It's so funny because I've never seen Teresa on the outside. Okay, I just know from people who have been at events with her. I know when her show started, it was very cute because she would be in a supermarket or somewhere and she'd just get a hit and it came out of her mouth and she would tell the person next to her. And not so much anymore, now that she's famous. I know somebody who, she was at an event and they went up to her and she said, no, I'm not doing any readings. Now, again, I understand her life cannot be bombarded all the time. I get it. But sometimes when somebody walks up to you and they need some information, sometimes it's kinder to just maybe, if your show is based on you just going up to anybody in restaurants, on vacation, in supermarkets, it's kind of sad then because somebody walks up to you who's in need and we never know who they lost. And it sort of makes them second guess this gift. I know for a fact people have a gift. We become such a cynical world. We want to have them prove it. Well, let's go back to our biblical days when there were prophets all around. I mean, the story of the burning bush, we don't want to believe today, but yet we tell that story. The story of raising Lazarus from the dead. We believe it because it's in the Old and New Testament, but we don't believe today. And it's because we become such a cynical world. We want everything proven to us. I think there are a lot of people walking this earth today that are prophets.
In Brazil, I know Oprah, I think there's someone, John of God, I don't know if you've heard of him, and I think people flock to Brazil just he does, surgeries without instruments and, all these things, and he supposedly heals people. By your expression, I assume you totally are 100% believing in what he does.
Okay. I think that there are people, yes, out there. Now, John of God, I need to investigate more,
Mm-hmm.
but I do know that I lost my very best friend to breast cancer. And somebody had taken her to Spain to see some healer. A psychic surgeon was his title. And I was not allowed to go with her. And it's funny because when she was there, and I have pictures of her actually having this, him with his hands in her and the blood and the coming out, all of the stuff.
So he actually did some sort of surgery.
So he did, yeah. And he said to her before she left, you have to believe that you're healed, because the minute you stop believing, the disease will be back. Well, nice way to get you off the hook.
Yeah.
Right?
That doesn't sound...
So she came back with this whole new way she had to eat and get off of medication, and I'm going, no way. So the girl that brought her was bringing her all these muffins and whatever. Within 3 weeks, she had a massive tumor in her head that was pushing her brain. So I, in panic mode, I'm thinking, she better not be off her meds. She better not be, eat clean, absolutely. But she better not feel guilty that she gave this cancer back to herself because she stopped believing. Mm-hmm. See, I didn't like the way this was brought about. I didn't like the way her healing and aftercare was given to her. So she was back on her chemo and she was doing whatever she had to do. She actually lived another 1.5 years. But she was fearful that she gave herself the cancer back. This is where I draw the line with these healers, some of them, not all of them. John of God I really need to look into, because I absolutely believe that there are healers walking this earth. And I do believe that it's not by mistake that they're here.
Now you mentioned that when, some of the big, mediums, that they may not be open if someone needs assistance. They see, oh, that's this person to, read them at the moment. For yourself, I know you don't do that, but do you ever have the need to go up to people? Do you sense energies from people and you just feel,
I'm very energy sensitive, extremely energy sensitive. And I'm assuming I always was. I was always the type of person who, if somebody was in need, I just had to kick into a gear. I almost knew what they needed before they did, which was a problem for a while, when I began to see that a lot of people were coming to me from areas that, I would meet them getting my nails done. And I would then find that they were very ill. I sometimes can walk in a room and all of a sudden I'll get a splitting headache that I didn't have before I entered the room. And I have to sit calmly and I get myself into a state and just say, is this my headache or somebody else's? If it's not mine, take it away. I don't want it. I'm not accepting it. And it's gone. If it's my headache, it stays. It's, again, like I said to you, I go right into a person's wound. If someone has very bad behavior, I don't look at them because of the behavior. I go to where this behavior is coming from. So my feeling is that your energy today, I think, is going to be really uplifted because you invited me to do this interview. And I think that it's, whether it's your first, your 10th, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it's going to raise your energy level and your confidence in yourself as somebody to do interviews.
Now, getting back to one thing I wanted to focus on is you've done a lot of other things in your life though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, could you list like how have you reinvented yourself? I mean, I'm just starting and I've had, in my generation, I've probably had about 10, 11 jobs, and people say for my generation, you know, we're gonna have so many compared to the past.
Right.
But for you, you know, it seems like this is, did you picture yourself being where you are today?
Oh my
At,
God.
you know, in your...
Okay, a dream, okay, never ever thinking would be attainable. Always when I was younger, how did I see myself? If somebody would have said to me, what did you want to do? I wouldn't even say what I wanted because it was just not reality.
Mm-hmm.
I would always say I want to be a therapist. There was no way in hell I was going to school to become a therapist. That was just not for me. I've never taken that road in life. My road has always been this way. I go off the beaten path.
So it's the road less traveled, like
It's
Robert
the
Frost.
road less traveled. Nobody's probably been on my road. But, so my earlier years I worked in advertising. I went to business school. I'm 62 years old. When I graduated high school, it wasn't about having a career. You were going to be either a hairdresser, maybe a teacher, or a nurse, but that was it. So I went to business school. I went to Drake's Business School. And then I went to work in advertising. I did that until I got married, and then I became a mother. And I hope to God my children would say I did a really good job of being a mom. When my daughter was approaching the age of kindergarten, I decided it was either giving birth to another child, didn't want to do that, I don't think so much, or doing something else. So I went back to school. I went to culinary school and became a chef.
Oh, wow.
So I had my own catering business for years, and then the economy started to drop, and I did a lot of corporate work, and I just decided it was not worth me having to go back into the kitchen. I had a staff, so I wasn't going back into the kitchen and doing everything just so I could make a living. So what I did was I dissolved the corporation. I lived out all my contracts and donated my equipment to a soup kitchen because I was really done. I kept my garland stove that I had. And after that, I went back into the office work, but in the medical field. And it's funny because the doctor that I went to work for, he was a retired pediatrician. His name is Dr. Cantor. He's still in practice today. And wonderful, wonderful man. My dad died when I was 9. So I never had that father figure. And we develop in life according to our parents. So I was missing that masculine father energy, which teaches us how to compete, defend, provide. I didn't have that. And it's funny because in that job, Dr. Cantor was my second chance father. This man gave me what I didn't get from my dad. And I didn't realize it until I had been working for him for 8 years. And halfway through, I realized what it was. This man taught me so much. So I gained a little bit of confidence to step outside myself a bit. And that's when I started to look at the spiritual direction, going a little off the normal course in life
Mm-hmm.
and found I had a wonderful rapport with people, you know, where healing was involved.
Okay.
So that I went from the spiritual director to then bringing in, you know, all the other modalities. And now I'm an inner healing provider. So what does that mean? I believe that we all have a gift. And we just need to believe in ourselves enough that that gift is attainable.
Mm-hmm.
And that we only know who we are. You know, people might look at you or look at myself, and whatever they think of us, it's an interpretation of who we really are. You know inside of you who you are. You know what your desires are. And I think it's absolutely attainable. What is it right now? You're working at Somerset,
Mm-hmm.
and you might feel that that's just a job. And yet, your ability to bring smiles to people's faces when they're on the end part of their life, because that's like the last stop before the final
Mm-hmm.
living place or resting place, whatever we want to call it. But you've brought happiness to people. You've also seen people die.
Yeah.
You've had people that you were close to there die. It was a wonderful job to have for you for this time.
Mm-hmm.
But you're getting that antsy feeling, and it's time to move on. The only thing that's stopping you is you.
I mean, I could somewhat see that, but, you know, for myself, and I think there may be a lot of people in my, you know, generation, recently graduated college,
Right.
still don't have a degree, you know, went to school for 5-something years, and still don't know what they want to do.
Exactly.
And like for me, I do feel like I'm at times like a chicken with my head cut off, running around in all different directions. And
Can you relax into that though?
I mean,
And
if I
just
relaxed,
say-
I'd be dead. I mean, chicken with heads cut off.
No, relax into the fact that your head is going in many different directions, and understand that you're searching, and every area that you get a tasting of is an area that you can say, whoa, this I want to bring in,
Mm-hmm.
or no, that I don't want. You're still very young, and yet you have the desire to go out there and do more than you're doing. If you take the chance and just step outside that comfort zone and know that your generation does have it difficult, because we're coming off a really bad economy. People out of work, and yet you're also at a time where possibilities
Yeah, endless.
are endless. And right now, all of these small businesses that are opening, you know, people are almost going back to mom and pop type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the work I do. I'm having people come out of the woodwork. Why? We have a thirst, a real thirst for learning about the self, self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
This world is finally giving us permission to go within. What is it that I need? You know what? The medical industry has worked, but not 100%. We have a world of people that are, and please don't get this wrong, medication is needed for some people
Mm-hmm.
because of their chemical makeup. But doctors prescribe medication just to, we want
Yeah.
the quick fix. They don't want to go in.
I think there was a movie and things about saying that this the Prozac Nation.
Right.
You know, I was on it at a point. It seems everyone
Exactly.
Is on some sort of like, hey, what do you got? Can I have some of that? Let's
Exactly.
change.
You know, before, years ago, when I was younger, if you went to a therapist, it was, yee, you were
Yeah.
crazy. Nobody spoke about it. Today, if you don't have a therapist, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the doors are opening more for us because we do want to be our best. We do want to go inside and really take a look. What is it that I need to just rid myself of? The drugs are not doing it. They're clearly not doing it. Life is it's your teacher. You know, you're my teacher. I'm learning from you. It's all about finding what works, what doesn't work, what doesn't bring us alive. Get rid of it. We're a stressful, stressed out world. The statistics of breast cancer on Long Island and in California, very high. Why? Look at the stress level. Look at the industries that are there. It's amazing. We're breaking our backs, you know, for what? How many people are working at jobs they hate?
Yeah, and people not getting enough sleep. And
Exactly. What are we doing? Are we really happy?
I think a lot of us are all in autopilot. You know, we're going through lives in autopilot.
Right. And you're so afraid you're not going to find what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So it just creates this chaos within you that perpetuates, you know, spinning out of control, just spinning and not knowing. You feel like you're chasing your tail. I always tell people, find something, take a baby step. Try something very simple that's uncomfortable, that you didn't think you could do, and do it. And just do it. You could always undo something. But if you don't try, you're going to stay exactly where you are. Unless the bomb falls on your head and, you know, you say, aha, I know what it is.
There's an interesting story about how this office was built. Do you want to express it?
Yes.
Explain how.
And actually, it came from a woman who did, I hate to use the word psychic. I always call her a healer, but she was very gifted, this woman. And she told me that my father wanted me to have space. And space has always been an issue with me. Growing up, I'm one of 4 girls. We all shared a bedroom. And my older sister used to torture me. I couldn't even get out of the side of my bed. I had to crawl down to the foot of my bed because she had an imaginary wall up. So I've always had a space issue. So added on to my house, my family room is, you know, in back of this room. There was a little shed, and we broke through the wall, and I had this little tiny room that you could hardly fit my Reiki table in, but you couldn't even walk around it. So my husband's mother, my mother-in-law, Ruth, was dying, and we brought her from Florida to New York to die here because she was alone there. And she loved the work that I did. And my vision always was to have a healing room in my house, but a real one with light. So after she passed away, we decided to add a healing room onto the house. And my husband allowed me, you know, he gave me free vision to go with. So we broke into that little tiny room that we had, and I wanted my room to flow in a, you know, round sort of a way. So we dug the foundation, I climbed into the hole, and every step of the way there are crystals buried throughout the foundation and the footings. There's a Reiki peace grid, as I said before, in the middle, and the workmen, it was funny because I was burning sage. They all thought I was smoking pot because it has this pungent odor to it. Climbed down into the hole. They must have thought, this lady's nuts. She's getting high in the hole where we're building, you know, whatever. But I was able to, every step of the way, bring the energy of healing into this room. So when finally all my footings were in, you know, people will say to me, well, aren't you concerned about what energies are brought in? I'm not, because I have all along the outside pushed into the cement foundation and footings are pieces of black jet, and they protect against negative energy. So whenever anybody walks in, they always, their best self come into this room, the good. And I then had the walls built, and this is in a, you know, octagon or hexagon, whatever we are here. If you look where all of these corners meet, there are crystals buried on either side of them. So the energy in this room is very, it's blessed, it's sacred, it's very sacred. The history of how this room came to be, I mean, it was my vision, and it's everything I wanted it to be, and blessed.
Now your vision's here.
My vision is here.
Wow.
Yeah, so now my next, you want to know what the next vision is?
What?
I want a healing center. That's my next vision.
So you're hoping to eventually leave and just do the healing full
I'm
time?
going to have a hard time leaving this room.
No, I mean not leaving this room.
Yeah, but I do.
here.
I want a healing center. I so believe that there's a need for them. You know how we have nail salons on every corner?
Mm-hmm.
We need healing centers. We need places for people to come. You know, it's wonderful because we have like Massage Envy. That's a great place to go, you know, to get a massage. But I really believe we need something that has many different healing modalities so that we can feed somebody's body, mind, and spirit whenever it's needed on a regular basis.
Okay.
So that's my new vision. But see, it changes.
Yeah, I see.
Your vision board change. You know, when you pull the one thing off that you attain, replace it with something else. We want to be all used up when we go.
Mm-hmm.
Something, take a baby step. Try something very simple that's uncomfortable that you didn't think you could do. And do it. And just do it. You can always undo something. But if you don't try, you're going to stay exactly where you are. Unless the bomb falls on your head and, you know, you say, aha, I know what it is.
Now, one thing I started to, you know, work on is you mentioned about like vision boards.
Yes.
What do you, like, can you explain that? And I guess I think with that goes the secret, the book The Secret, or the power of, you know, law of attraction.
Laws of attraction, yeah. Because what we put out, you know, our thoughts become actions. Our thoughts go out there. They become what we are, what we think we are. We are what we're putting out there. The car breaking down, not being able to get to work, having to take a bunch of cash out and put it in the car. I'm not going to be able to move forward. What does the subconscious mind hear? The word not. I can't. I won't. I'm being held back. No. It's a blip on the radar screen. Why would I hand somebody a piece of sea glass? And I use sea glass a lot. Because it's nothing more than something that was whole, that was broken. And then, on top of it being broken, it has waves crashing down on it. And it's being pulled out and pulled in and dragged through the sand. And it's not fun. And yet, people find sea glass to be precious. It's smooth, it has beauty. So that once beautiful bottle or whatever, you know, vase that was broken is still absolutely magnificent. And people want it. That's what we are. You know, we're a piece of sea glass. Some people go through life a little bit easier. They don't crack so easy. but it doesn't mean that we're different now in a different form, but we are beautiful and precious. And that should be, change is good. Now what does this sea glass do? When I hold it, it's smooth. I have it here, why? Just as a reminder. This sea glass is not making anything happen. I have a vision board. What is that vision board there for? That vision board is there every day to remind me of the goals I am going to reach. I have no doubt in my mind I'm going to reach that goal.
And what is your vision board? Is it magazine clippings? Like how
Anything that you want it to be. I mean, I choose magazine clippings. I'll take actual objects,
Mm-hmm.
you know, put it on there. I'll take, you know, anything, newspaper articles, you know, books. I'll take a picture of a book, you know, and just put it there. So what is the vision board? The vision board is not going to make it happen. All that vision board is there for, to remind you of where you're going. And you are going to get there. It's a tool that I think children should have it. I think everybody should have a vision board.
I mean, I started doing it. It's fun to do, you know.
Yeah. What's in the center of your vision board? Where do you want to end up? It's right there.
True.
What is it? Do you want an apartment? What does that apartment look like? How much money do you want to spend on that apartment? What is it that I can afford? Put it out there. Look at it. Realize it's attainable. It's absolutely attainable. But remember, just having it on that board is not going to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Having it on that board and remembering I'm going to look every day for my apartment. And you're going to actually thank yourself for going out there and looking for it, and thank the universe for bringing it to you. Because if it doesn't come today or tomorrow, remember, I believe there's a divine plan. And that plan is that you were put on this earth for a reason. Not just to sit here and wonder what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You are actually here to take action. And every one of us that are on this earth have a major responsibility. There is a responsibility to go inside and be the best we can be. Find out what it is, because then it's so easy to share that with the world. Yes, you'll make your money. Yes, you'll have your career. And yes, you will give away your gift to people who need it. And you will make such a difference. And in doing so, it elevates your inner feeling of who you are. You walk away feeling like you've made a difference here. You've made your mark. Yes, I had 2 children. I didn't make a mark. Anybody could have a child. You know, it's not personal. Everybody, you know, there are a lot of us mothers running around. But what did I bring to it? You know, what do I bring to the world? It is my responsibility to be the most compassionate person I can be. Hence why I have Kuan Yins all around me. I joke around and I say I'm a descendant of Kuan Yin, I'm sure of it. Because I have such compassion in my heart. I need to give that away. I need to help somebody. If there's a person in the street who says to me, they're hungry, and I have, I might not always give money. I once was going to, my son was graduating from, he's a federal agent. He was graduating from his training. And we went to the Port Authority to take the bus to Atlantic City where this ceremony was. And then a woman came up to me at Port Authority and asked me for money. She was hungry. And I knew enough not to open my pocketbook at the Port Authority. That just wasn't it. But I did have my breakfast in a bag. And the woman walked away and I realized I had the breakfast. And I ran after her and I said to her, I am so sorry, I cannot give you money, but I can give you my breakfast. This woman with tears running down her face thanked me. She was hungry. How could I walk away from her? How could I do that? Somebody was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my husband, for one, he sometimes looks at me and says, you have schmuck right across your head. But I don't. I know it's in my heart. I'm very grounded.
Now, when people leave your office and what do you hope that they get out of meeting with you?
My hope is that I get to I help them get to the part of their spirit, because that's why people come to me. You know, they can't always get in touch with that spirit within them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their soul's urge. It's my hope that they walk out the door and can feel their greatness. They can feel their possibility. They can feel their healing. I had a woman come in a little over a year ago, and she came to me with cancer. It had breast cancer that had metastasized. And I had never seen a breast cancer metastasize this way. It was my first time. And I was very drawn to putting oils on her. I do a lot with essential oils. And when she left, I innately knew I was not going to see her again. And her sister-in-law was so kind, because she contacted me to tell me that her sister-in-law was not doing well, that she was dying, and that her coming here and experiencing the healing that she did, it prepared her to leave this world.
Mm.
That's sometimes the healing that's going to take place. My greatest gift was, and I don't always get the opportunity because sometimes they leave and I never see them again. My greatest gift was when they called and told me she died, and died peacefully, and was able to gather the people around her to be okay with her dying. I can't tell you what that does for me. That to me is hitting the lotto, the Powerball. I mean, that's how much I say thank you, God, for allowing me to know that that person came here and really was able to take in their energy and move with it. So it's always my hope that when they walk out the door, that their soul's urge and that their spirit are fed, and that they're able to walk that much closer to what it is they need. You know, they can walk in here telling me that there's something wrong with them, and they could have a physical ailment, and yet they'll have the Reiki, and where I feel the blockage has nothing to do with their physical ailment.
Mm.
A woman could come in and tell me that she's getting major headaches and she can't take her headaches, and you know, they're blinding. And I'll Reiki her head and feel nothing. And I'll get down to her root chakra, and all of a sudden I'm feeling an awful lot going on. Those headaches can be hormonal.
Mm-hmm.
And yet where the energy needed to go was to that area, it was to her ovaries. And that's what she just needed to be in touch with. That those headaches were coming from her ovaries. It was a hormonal imbalance that she had, and that she needed just to check out that area and see what could be done.
Hmm.
So not everybody is ready. You know, they'll come in here because somebody dragged them through the door. You've got to see a Reiki practitioner or whatever. Oftentimes I incorporate into my Reiki a session where I'll sit and talk to them first because I want to know. I need to get in touch with that energy of what's going on. What mask are they wearing today? And then get them on the table. So at least they talk out the stuff that they kind of like hold in deep during the week, which is doing them absolutely no good.
I mean, it's basically like counseling.
It is. It is. It's spiritual direction, and I'm bound to the same privacy as confidentiality as a therapist, a priest, and whatever. I honor that, as I honor everybody who enters this room, no matter what their belief system is or what their story is.
I wanted to end with asking you a couple questions. I'm not sure if you're familiar with James Lipton's Inside the Actor Studio. If you've ever seen it.
Yes.
But at the end, I think it's called the Proust Questionnaire, and he asks some questions.
Okay.
So there's usually 10, but I narrow them down.
Go ahead.
What's your favorite word?
Hope.
What's your least favorite word?
My least favorite word. Hate.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, waterfalls.
What do you hate?
Screeching.
And lastly, for profession, what profession would you most like to attempt?
I'm doing it. I mean, oh, you mean something stepping outside
Something that
my
you
comfort zone?
Yeah, something that you haven't
Oh my
done
God.
that you want to
Yeah. What would that be? Oh my God, being a pilot. Being a pilot. Because I'm petrified to fly. I get on planes, I don't let it stop me. I white light my plane, I bless everybody who gets on the plane. A pilot.
do. What would you profession would you not want to do?
I would not want to be president of the United States.
And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
It's about time. You got here. No. What would I like him to? Job well done.
Well, thank you for having me. I really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.